What if I told you that in Britain, during the winter of 1986, one ordinary-looking fountain pen turned an entire family into murderers? Before sunrise, 7 people would be trapped inside a mansion, and only a few would walk out alive. But the most terrifying truth was this: there wasn't one killer. There were 3. England, Yorkshire, December 1986. A thick blanket of snow covered the countryside, and a freezing wind howled through the empty roads leading to Blackwood Manor, one of the oldest private estates in northern England. For decades, people in the nearby village whispered strange stories about the mansion. Some believed it was cursed, others claimed it hid secrets that had never been meant to leave its walls. On that cold evening, 7 members of the wealthy Ashcroft family arrived one by one after receiving the same handwritten letter. The letter had been written by the family's late patriarch, Arthur Ashcroft, a respected businessman who had died only 3 days earlier. The message was short. "My greatest treasure is hidden inside my black fountain pen. Whoever finds it first will inherit everything I own." No one knew whether Arthur meant money, documents, or something far more valuable. But everyone came. Edward Ashcroft arrived first, followed by his cousin Thomas, then Sarah, William, Margaret, Daniel, and finally Eleanor. Each of them smiled politely. Each of them secretly distrusted the others. As the clock approached 8 in the evening, the heavy oak doors of Blackwood Manor closed behind them with a loud, echoing boom. Moments later, the iron gates outside locked automatically. The caretaker looked uneasy. "I'm afraid none of you can leave tonight," he said. "The snowstorm has blocked every road." No one objected. After all, they expected to leave the next morning as the new owner of Arthur Ashcroft's fortune. They had no idea that, before dawn, the mansion would become a prison. Inside the grand dining hall, portraits of long-dead Ashcroft ancestors stared down from the walls. A roaring fireplace gave off warmth, but it couldn't ease the growing tension in the room. Dinner was served in complete silence. Every glance carried suspicion. Every smile seemed fake. Halfway through the meal, the old caretaker placed a small wooden box on the table. "This," he said quietly, "was left for you by Mr. Ashcroft." Edward slowly opened the lid. The box was empty. Only a folded piece of paper remained. He unfolded it and read aloud. "The pen is never where you expect it to be. Those who seek it must first uncover the truth buried inside this house." The room fell silent. Thomas laughed. "So he wants us to play games, even after his death." But nobody else laughed, because Arthur Ashcroft had never been a man who joked. Outside, thunder rolled across the frozen sky. Inside the mansion, someone smiled. Not because the treasure hunt had begun, but because tonight was the perfect night to kill. The old grandfather clock struck 9 p.m. Its deep, hollow chimes echoed through every corridor of Blackwood Manor. No one spoke. The atmosphere had changed. Arthur Ashcroft's final message kept repeating inside everyone's mind. "The pen is never where you expect it to be." Edward stood up first. "If the pen is hidden somewhere in this house," he said, "then there's no reason to waste any more time." Within seconds, the family split into small groups and began searching the mansion. Every room held another mystery. Dust-covered bookshelves, locked cabinets, portraits with watchful eyes, hidden doors that hadn't been opened for decades. Meanwhile, outside, the snowstorm grew even stronger. The wind slammed against the old windows as if someone, or something, wanted to get inside. Thomas quietly slipped away from the others. He wasn't looking for the pen. He already knew where Arthur used to hide his most valuable possessions. Years ago, Arthur had shown him a secret study hidden behind the library fireplace. Thomas carefully pulled an old brass candle holder. A section of the wall slowly moved aside. Behind it was a narrow stone passage. His flashlight revealed shelves filled with old journals, maps, and locked wooden chests. Then, on a small velvet stand, he saw it, a beautiful black fountain pen. Its silver clip reflected the flashlight like a blade. Thomas smiled. So, it really exists. He reached for it. The moment his fingers touched the pen, a loud metallic click echoed through the hidden room. Thomas froze. "Who's there?" he whispered. No answer, only silence. He slowly turned around. Nothing. He picked up the pen and placed it inside his coat pocket. As he stepped toward the exit, a dark figure suddenly appeared behind him. The face was hidden. Black gloves, a long, dark coat. The stranger spoke only 4 words. "That doesn't belong to you." Thomas stepped backward. "You'll never leave with it," he replied. For a second, neither of them moved. Then the lights inside the passage went out. Complete darkness. A struggle broke out. The sound of furniture crashing echoed through the hidden room. A desperate shout. Then, silence. A few minutes later, Edward heard a loud bang coming from the library. "Did you hear that?" Sarah asked. Everyone rushed toward the sound. The hidden passage behind the fireplace stood open. Edward grabbed a lantern and walked inside. The others followed. The beam of light reached the stone floor. Someone screamed. Thomas lay motionless beside the wall. The black fountain pen rested only inches from his hand. A dark stain spread across his clothes. No one moved. No one breathed. Edward slowly picked up the pen. It felt strangely heavy. Before he could examine it, the mansion's light suddenly went out again. The hallway filled with hurried footsteps. Someone was running. Someone else shouted for help. When the lights returned a few seconds later, the pen had vanished from Edward's hand. No one had seen who took it. The room erupted into panic. Every family member accused someone else. Every face became a suspect, but hidden somewhere inside Blackwood Manor. A masked figure watched from the shadows. The figure whispered, "The first move is complete." Unknown to everyone in the mansion, that person wasn't the only killer waiting in the darkness. A freezing silence settled over the hidden passage. No one dared to move. Thomas was dead. The black fountain pen had disappeared, and every person in Blackwood Manor had suddenly become both a suspect and a potential victim. Edward took a deep breath. "No one leaves this house," he said, "until we know who did this." Nobody argued. There was nowhere to go. Outside, the snowstorm had become so violent that the roads had vanished beneath thick layers of snow. The telephone lines were dead. Even the old caretaker admitted there was no way to contact the police before morning. They were completely alone. The family gathered in the library once again. Fear had replaced greed. Sarah couldn't stop staring at the fireplace. "It wasn't just the murder," she whispered. "Someone took the pen while the lights were out." William looked around the room. "Which means the killer was standing right beside us." Those words sent a chill through everyone. Every glance became suspicious. Every movement felt dangerous. Then, a loud knocking sound echoed from somewhere inside the walls. "Knock! Knock! Knock!" The sound stopped. Margaret slowly pointed toward a bookshelf. "I think it's coming from behind there." Edward pushed against the shelf. Nothing. Then Daniel noticed a tiny brass switch hidden inside an old decorative carving. He pressed it. With a heavy grinding noise, the bookshelf slowly slid open. A narrow stone staircase appeared. Cold air rushed upward from the darkness below. The caretaker turned pale. "I've worked here for 20 years, he whispered. "I never knew this passage existed." Edward picked up an oil lantern. "I'll go first." One by one, the others followed him down the stairs. The passage led to an underground chamber filled with dusty furniture, broken clocks, and shelves covered with forgotten family records. In the center of the room stood a large wooden desk. On top of it lay another handwritten message. Edward unfolded it. It read, "The pen unlocks more than an inheritance. It unlocks the truth about my family." Before anyone could react, a sharp metallic sound echoed behind them. The hidden door slammed shut. The lantern flickered. Darkness surrounded them. Then a gunshot exploded through the chamber. Sarah screamed. The echo shook the walls. When Edward managed to relight the lantern, William had collapsed onto the cold stone floor. He wasn't moving. Panic erupted. Someone had fired from the darkness, but no one had seen who pulled the trigger. Far above them, hidden behind an old ventilation shaft, a masked figure quietly lowered a smoking pistol. Elsewhere, inside the mansion's attic, another masked figure unfolded an old map and smiled. Neither of them realized. A third person, dressed entirely in black, was silently watching both of them from the shadows. 3 different killers, 3 different motives, 3 separate plans. Each believed they were in control, but they were all chasing the same mysterious fountain pen, and before this night was over, they would discover that Arthur Ashcroft had planned far more than a simple inheritance. He had designed a deadly game, where the greatest secret was never the pen. It was the people willing to kill for it. The underground chamber fell silent. Edward slowly looked around. "There are 3 killers," he whispered. "Not one." No one believed him until the truth began to reveal itself. Sarah confessed first. Years earlier, Arthur Ashcroft had discovered that she had secretly stolen money from the family business. She came to Blackwood Manor determined to recover the fountain pen because she believed it contained documents that could expose her. Meanwhile, Daniel stepped forward. He admitted that he had planned to kill Edward to secure the inheritance before anyone else could claim it. Then came the biggest shock. The old caretaker quietly removed his cap. His real name wasn't George. It was Michael Bennett. 40 years earlier, Arthur Ashcroft's business decisions had destroyed Michael's family. He had spent decades waiting for revenge, and the night of the inheritance was the perfect opportunity. 3 people, 3 different motives, 3 separate murder plans. None of them had trusted the others. None of them knew they were sharing the same deadly night. Edward finally found the black fountain pen hidden inside the base of the grandfather clock. His hands trembled as he unscrewed it. Instead of diamonds or bank account details, a tightly rolled document slipped out. It was Arthur Ashcroft's final confession. "If you are reading this, then my family has already chosen greed over love. The inheritance was never the real test. I wanted to know whether any of you would value each other more than my fortune. If blood has been spilled over this pen, then none of you deserve what I built." A second envelope lay beneath the letter. Inside was the real will. Arthur had donated nearly his entire fortune to children's hospitals, libraries, and charities across Britain. The Ashcroft family would receive almost nothing. Silence filled the room. Every murder, every betrayal, every lie had been committed for a fortune that no longer belonged to them. As police officers finally arrived after the snowstorm cleared, the surviving killers were arrested. Blackwood Manor was closed forever. The black fountain pen was locked away as evidence. Years later, people in the nearby village still told the story of the mansion, where greed destroyed an entire family. Some said the pen was cursed. Others believed it was never about the pen at all. It was about the darkness hidden inside the human heart. And that is why even today, the legend of the pen that killed 3 lives continues to haunt anyone who dares to hear it.